Hello again, Setch here, and welcome back to episode 6 in my little YouTube experiment. I keep trying to do this different ways. The previous episode was, to my standards, really highly produced. I had scripted out the whole monologue beforehand, and I was reading off of Notepad, and I knew exactly what I was going to say, and I edited the timing of the video to help things flow along. Hopefully it was easy to watch. It was an awful lot of work to make, and I don't think I'm going to keep producing things at that level in the near future. Things are pretty busy over here. I'm in the process of trying to buy a house. Things are always busy at work. So the next step in this little experiment is for me to just see what I can do without so much effort, and see if, maybe through the practice of repetition and maybe with some familiarity, I can make things that are, share things that are worth watching without so much investment. And in any case, I've got a couple of videos on hand that were sort of on the shelf that were waiting to be dealt with that are pretty fun to watch. And so the main purpose right now is just to share those. For whatever it's worth. And the match that I've got right here is I'm flying out in the Kawasaki 43-3 Hayabusa, or the Cannon Busa, as it is affectionately known in War Thunder. It's the version of the plane, as you might expect, that has cannons. And it's not a plane that I typically fear very much when I'm flying. When I see it on the enemy team, because it's not particularly fast. So as long as you keep an eye on it, it's kind of like the little ghosts in Mario. As long as you keep an eye on it, you're pretty safe. But it has a really strong reputation among pilots in War Thunder, and flying it for the first time in quite a while myself, I can definitely see why that is. It is a remarkably fun plane to fly. It is, like I said, it's not the fastest plane in the game, but it has a remarkable climb rate. It is very nimble and evasive, and it's small and it's hard to hit. So even though your control of the engagement is basically limited to climbing, so you can usually avoid having people above you, even though you don't control speed, the fact that you are so nimble and so evasive makes it feel like a very liberating experience to fly the plane. It feels really safe, not because you can stay out of reach, but because you feel like you can just get out of any trap. Like, nobody can catch you in this plane because it's just so nimble. And so it was a lot of fun to fly this plane. But really, the match is not about the Hayabusa. Or this video is not about the Hayabusa or my flying of the Hayabusa. The reason I wanted to share this match is because it was just a really fun air domination match in a strong squad with 3 other good players, including Arthur, who I fly with regularly, so my wingman. But I'm also here with Wobo Bobo from DMH, and Colonel 7, who I'm not as familiar with. He's one of the friends of the other guys. And all 3 of those are really strong pilots, and I'm a pretty strong pilot myself, or a pretty strong flyer. I try not to use the word pilot, at least applied to myself, since I'm not really a pilot, and I know there are folks who take a lot of pride in that label. Anyway, I handle planes in War Thunder pretty well, I think. And between the 4 of us, we have a great game. And it's interesting how much the perspective on this match differs depending on where you're looking at it from, because the 4 of us are just doing fine, but blue team is getting slaughtered. If you look at the chat early on in the match, you will see a bunch of comments from other people on blue team saying, "Oh gosh, we're getting torn to pieces. Well, but this is a loss." And the thing is, our squad secured altitude pretty early on, and so it was sort of this layer cake that assembled, or that developed over the course of the match, where it was our team was up on top, and then red team was below us, and then below them, getting farmed at the spawn point, was the rest of blue team, and they felt like they were just having a really horrible day, and they were. But it's only because they didn't come up and join us. We were actually this match was blue team's match for the taking, basically, and most of the rest of the team wasn't up to the challenge. But our squad was having a field day, and we stayed alive. The rest of blue team got killed off within the first 10 minutes or so, even though we were trying. I mean, our position, our squad having secured altitude, our job at that point is to try and push down on red team and try and help our teammates if they want to climb. And we were trying to do that. We were pushing down pretty hard on red team, but nonetheless, we wound up alone up there against 4 players against maybe 12 players on red team, and survived up there for another 8 or 10 minutes under those conditions, trying to hold on to the cap, defend the top of the cap volume against this numerically superior force climbing at us from below. And it was a great challenge. This is my favorite type of circumstance that can develop in air domination, is when you have sort of an elite team of veterans trying to defend altitude against a climbing assault from below. And I think my buddies and I all put on a pretty strong show. Red team, I think, also did a good job for what it's worth. We obviously had the advantage on them for the better part of the match, but red team did what red team should do in these circumstances, which is as soon as the rest of our team was dispatched, and it was them against this squad that had control overhead. Their entire team together made a unified effort to climb, and they really put pressure on us. They didn't just sort of roll over and quit. They all climbed, and it became the contest from our perspective was, given a positional advantage, given the fact that we can win individual fights, can we shoot down the fighters of red team fast enough to suppress this wave of aircraft that are coming up at us? And the answer is no. We probably could not have done that. The match eventually ended in a draw, which resulted in a loss for both teams, because this was back in the previous patch of War Thunder Cold Steel, where that's how air domination worked at the time. But given enough time, red team was just on the verge of pushing us out of the cap volume. But we hung on to it tooth and nail until the very last moment, and it was a lot of fun. Over the majority of the match, I'm flying pretty aggressively because, like I said, this Hayabusa just makes you feel invincible. And I'm coming to this after flying mostly in the Lightning, which is on the opposite end of the maneuverability spectrum. So it's in the Lightning, everything you do, you're like ultra committed to it, and in the Kawasaki, you just feel like you can change your mind at any moment. So because I'm in the company of this really strong squad that is available to back me up at any time, and because I've got Arthur overhead who's kicking everybody's butts with boom and zoom in his yak, I feel like my role in this context is to play more aggressively. So I stay above red team. I'm not giving up my altitude advantage, but I'm not flying high above red team like I would if I was trying to boom and zoom. I'm staying sort of just over their heads and trying to complicate things for them so that they don't feel safe when they're climbing. Like I'm sort of always within arm's reach, and I'm sort of trying to stir the pot and basically, keep the situation fluid and trying to pick off anybody that I see that looks like they're climbing distracted. And at the same time, if anybody fixates on me, I can try and stall fight them, loop fight them. And in a worst case, I know I've got Arthur up there above me, so I'm not that worried because there's this extra safety element of if I get in trouble, I'm pretty secure knowing that one of my friends can boom down and clear my 6, and that happens once or twice in the course of this episode as well. Anyway, that's enough narration for now. Red team has got a lot more planes to spend, and the match is going, so let's just watch it for a while. I'll catch you on the far side. Well, dear viewer, it has been a lot of fun, but we are now approaching the bitter end of this epic fight. Our squad has been fighting, I think, a heroic defense, trying to force Red Team to pay for every meter that they climb at us, but we just can't fall back any further. We just can't climb away any higher. We're approaching now the 4.8 kilometer threshold at the top of the cap volume, and if we get pushed any higher than that, then Red Team wins. And while I do want very much to survive this match with my plane intact, I also feel honor bound to not give Red Team the victory. I really want to force the draw. And in order to do that, I have to basically take one for the team and descend. Tactically, the smart move would be to keep climbing and keep retreating to a safe position, but I descend instead, try to keep a toe in the cap volume, and in the process I'm attracting more and more attention down at this altitude where we are outnumbered by Red Team. And I get sort of cornered away from the squad, and eventually there's a 109 that gets a good bounce on me. And purely by luck, I've managed to survive the opening salvo, and if it was just the two of us, the Hayabusa makes me feel pretty confident that I could have tried to reverse that, but my situational awareness at this point is just shot, and I know that there are fighters converging from every direction, and I'm afraid that if I stop and try and turn and face the 109, that I'll just get obliterated from all sides, so I wind up diving out. My buddy Arthur has very nicely been keeping track of time, and he calls out 1 minute, and knowing that there's only a minute to the bell, I basically go into a dive and evade for the last 30 seconds or so in order to run out the clock. I'm sure that it was very satisfying for Red Team to finally get one of us on the run by the end of the thing. Personally, I'm happy that I managed to make it to the buzzer and bring my plane home in one piece. That felt like a victory to me. But what a fight! What a great fight this was. It was a lot of fun to fly. It was fun to revisit and review and to share with y'all. And I hope it was fun to watch. I'll catch y'all next time. Setch out.